Welcome to my predictions for tomorrow's UFC 294 main card, Islam Makhachev vs. Alexander Volkanovski 2. The main card starts with a fight between Said Nurmagomedov and Ewan Gafurov. I'm going to take Nurmagomedov by TKO. I think they will be pretty even on the ground, given Gafurov's Sambo background and Nurmagomedov, of course, being Russian as fuck, despite his preference to stand and throw crazy spinning shit. This is why I'm taking Said by TKO. I think the grappling will be very even, but Said has the advantage in the striking department if he can manage his gas tank, which hasn't shown to be the greatest in previous fights. Just because he shares a surname with Khabib doesn't mean this guy is the same beast. Even though I think he will win, I think it's going to be highly competitive, but Said will catch him with something in the late second or early third round. The next fight is Ikram Aliskerov vs. Warlley Alves. I'm taking Aliskerov by submission in the first round. I think he's going to absolutely destroy Alves, who is 1-3 in his last 4 fights and lost by a triangle choke to Randy fucking Brown. There is no way this fight is competitive in any way. I think Aliskerov will have his way with Alves, taking him down and probably submitting him with an arm triangle after some ground and pound. Now, the third fight of the main card is Magomed Ankalaev vs. Johnny Walker. Despite Walker looking good in his recent performances, I don't think he has what it takes to beat Ankalaev. He certainly has the power to hurt him, and I know there have been so many upsets this year that you can never really know what's going to happen in MMA. But I just think Magomed will be too much. His wrestling is too strong for Walker, and he's shown his power on the feet too. I think he can win in more ways than Walker. I feel like Walker needs the knockout, whereas Ankalaev can win by submission, knockout, and grind out a decision on the ground if needed. So, I'm taking Magomed Ankalaev, and I'm going to take him to get it done by decision. I think Walker will hang in there, not get chinned, but ultimately lose every round on the scorecards. Now we have the co-main event between Khamzat Chimaev and Kamaru Usman. As we all know, Khamzat was originally scheduled to face Paulo Costa, but Costa had to pull out and was replaced by Kamaru Usman, the former welterweight champion. They both have one opponent in common in Gilbert Burns, and seeing as that's all I've got to base my opinion on, I guess we'll have to use that fight to make the prediction for this one. Usman finished Gilbert Burns, and Khamzat barely survived, and was given the decision, but it could have gone either way. Obviously, Khamzat will have improved since that fight, and it would seem that Usman has slowed down a bit. So even though Usman finished Burns, that was also a prime Usman, not the Usman of now. Maybe he goes in there and absolutely starches Khamzat and proves me wrong, but I think Khamzat will have learned a lot from that Burns fight, will be a lot more patient if he has to, and will stick to his strengths, which are wrestling and grappling. Usman has shown top-notch takedown defense, but he hasn't fought a wrestler like Khamzat. Colby is the best Usman has fought, and Colby's wrestling, as relentless as it is, just doesn't have the explosiveness that Khamzat's takedowns possess. I think Usman is going to be taken down easier than he thinks, and as he likes to give his back a lot, I feel like Khamzat will take advantage of this and maybe choke him out. Someone gets finished either way, and if they don't, I'm hoping for an absolute war. I would have taken Usman a couple of years ago, but right now, I have to take the young wolf Khamzat. Again, it's a case of him having more ways of winning than Usman. Usman could win by decision or even by knockout, but he doesn't have a submission threat at all, and I don't see him taking Khamzat down because Burns could barely move the guy's fucking leg. So, yeah, I think Khamzat will get a submission finish in the second round after some relentless ground and pound hammer fists. Now, onto the final fight and the main event of the evening. It's the much-anticipated rematch between Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski. I can't say I'm disappointed with this at all. As I mentioned earlier, I don't think the Charles fight was going to go any differently, and this match is way more interesting to me personally. As we saw in their previous encounter, this is an extremely closely contested fight, but I don't think this time it's going to be as close. Because Volkanovski has never been finished in the UFC, it's very hard to see Makhachev doing it. I think if anyone is going to win by knockout, it's going to be Volk, because even though Makhachev has a good chin, he has been hurt by Volk in their previous fight and knocked out cold early in his career. Volk has also been TKO'd, but that was at 170, 2 divisions above where he currently fights. This is probably the hardest fight to pick because my mind is telling me Makhachev is going to dominate due to Volk being on short notice and enemy territory. But the more I think about it, the more I think this fight favors Volk. Yes, he says if he loses, he'll never get a shot at the lightweight belt again, but that's not true. We've seen with Max Holloway at featherweight that if he beats every other contender, at some point, you can't be denied a third shot. I think Volk beats every other lightweight not named Islam on any given night, so he could definitely get a third shot at some point as long as he can keep performing at this level in his late 30s, which he could very well do. He didn't start training MMA until his 20s, so his mileage isn't the same as someone who has been doing this since childhood, and he could very well perform into his 40s. I feel GSP could still do well at his age now, and Volk is the same type of beast. Anyway, my prediction is Alexander Volkanovski by decision. Yes, I know, a shocker after I said he beats every other lightweight on any given night not named Islam, but I think this is the one night he's going to shock the world. If anyone can pull off this kind of upset in a year full of upsets, it's Alexander Volkanovski, and I think Islam is once again underestimating this guy's drive to succeed. He can't seem to fathom why Volk would take this fight other than for monetary gain, but yet Islam is the only one with any real pressure on him. He's the one who has had a full camp to train and get in shape. He is the one fighting in front of his home crowd, and he is the one who loses his lightweight belt. Volk really doesn't lose anything, and we've seen how difficult this guy is to submit. Islam couldn't even get a submission on him, and Ortega got the fastest mounted guillotine I've ever seen in my life and couldn't get him out of there. Volk wanted to prove he could beat Max and absolutely destroyed him in the third fight, and I think he'll have the same mentality this time. He knows he can get back up from the takedowns and defend the submission, and he knows he can hurt Makhachev. So, all of these factors combined, I think Volkanovski pulls it off. I think he's going to win by decision, almost mirroring Makhachev's 3-2 win over him, leading to a trilogy fight between them in mid-2024. And that about wraps up my predictions for tomorrow's UFC card. Do you agree or disagree with my picks? Let me know in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe for more delicious MMA content.